because they were trying to entertain themselves, a lot of cowboy poetry is meant to be funny as well. So, in Nevada every year, they have the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering, where upwards of 10,000 cowboys attend and submit poems, and it's a competition as well. So, I'm going to read you 2 poems, 2 entries. Carter, y'all are next door. I'm going to read you 2 entries. C.B. Rich evidently is a regular, was regular at the Cowboy Poetry Gathering, and has won lots of awards for his poems. So, here we go. A Way of Life by C.B. Rich. Why do you live out here, they asked, as they entered our gravel drive. Don't you like civilization? Don't you want to feel alive? I told them I live in a mountain flower, in a stately pine of twisted fir, and a million blades of grass, high on a windy pass, in a winding stream or a quiet lake, close by a mountain high, whose timbered slopes and steep sheer cliffs seem to pierce the very sky. I live in the heart of an honest horse as he plods his weary way over rocky trails beneath heavy loads from dawn till the close of day. And the rhythmic bob of heavy packs as I look back over the stream when we make our way to a mountain camp, far from cars and towns and such things. I live in a rambling country house that my dear ones all call home, in its quiet walls, by its cheery hearth, many happy hours we've known. It's true I care not for the city, with its hustle, bustle, and strife. I'll live out here and feel close to God, happy in this way of life. And the other poem I'm going to share with you from the National Cowboy Gathering is from Susan O'Connell. She's known as the Great Dame of Cowboy Poetry. Peace at the End by Susan O'Connell. His is one of the West's most enduring tales. Long after the man himself is gone, history has a way of blending truth and myth, so our heroes will always live on. Wyatt Earp has been glorified, a legend of America's past, but trying to find the real man in the myth might reveal the truth at last. He had the same faults as you or I. He had his share of adventure and betrayal. Was he a hero or a man with flaws? It depends on who tells the tale. In his own words, some past deeds cause remorse, poor judgment, or petty crime. He was embarrassed by all the acclaim and esteem, somehow softened by retelling in time. But he played the hand that he was dealt, and found his own way to fit in and belong. He hoped that his life had some value and worth, and the right choices outnumbered the wrong. Would Wyatt have changed his life if given the choice? Did he regret the winding path that he chose? I think at the end he wondered what might have been, since his last words were, suppose, suppose. So those are 2 legitimate cowboy poems from the National Poetry Gathering, National Cowboy Poetry Gathering. But like I said, a lot of times they were meant to entertain and be funny, so we will shift to the funny poems. And then I'm going to make you sing with me.
Yay!
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 Here we go. Listen. Rusty Rose takes a bath. That desperado, Rusty Rose, he scratched his horse's ear. He said, I see you curl your nose whenever I am near. I hate the thought, but I suppose it's got to be this way. So up ahead, I'll shed these clothes and take a bath today. They came upon a riverbed beside a ragged tree, and Rusty said, now bow your head and say a prayer for me. He grabbed a crusty bar of soap and stripped down to the skin, and then, without a shred of hope, poor Rusty stumbled in. A bullfrog fled without a trace. A fish came up for air. As Rusty washed his hands and face, his legs, his feet and hair, he dried off with a gunny sack and hung it in the tree. He climbed aboard his horse's back, his hat on his knee. We'll leave the soap beside the path, said Rusty with a sneer. I might just need another bath when we come way back here next year. Poor stinky Rusty gets back for the year. Thank you, Rachel.
Right. I find it hilarious, especially as the mother of a boy.
Yeah, we just, poor hygiene issues. All right. Mulligan, Martinson, Marley McGraw. The tiniest cowboy the world ever saw was Mulligan, Martinson, Marley McGraw. He bathed in a teacup and rode on a rat and wore very proudly a mighty small hat. Now Mulligan fancied a life on the range, but townfolk considered him silly and strange. They called him a dreamer, a fool, and a clown. You're simply too small, said the people in town. You can't brand a steer or deliver a calf. You can't mend a fence, said the folks with a laugh. They sneered at the way he would yodel and sing. They scoffed at his lasso made out of string. But Mulligan said as he stuck out his chin, a winner don't quit and a quitter don't win. You say what you will, I don't care about that. A cowboy is more than the size of his hat. And so life continued as life often does, till early one morning the streets were abuzz. And people were panicking uphill and down with news that the prairie dogs moved into town. They came without warning, 3,000 or more, invading the homes and the general store. They slipped into socks and the pockets of suits. They squeezed into boxes and barrels of boots. They slept under tables, they crept under chairs. They filled all the benches and stables and stairs. And no one in town seemed to know how to cope. Those critters were simply too tiny to rope. The sheriff then shouted, we'll seek and we'll search. We'll clean out the barns and the schools and the church. We'll round up them varmints. We'll get the job done. The folks, well, they tried their darndest, but caught not a one. But Mulligan Martinson said with a grin, a winner don't quit and a quitter don't win. As sure as a hound dog is riddled with fleas, I'll round up them critters as quick as you please. The townspeople chuckled, but said not a word, as Mulligan left for that prairie dog herd. His boots in his stirrups, his string at his side, he guided his rat through the streets far and wide. He rode through the houses, the bank, and the jail, and lassoed them dogs by the tip of the tail. Then one to the next, like the cars of a train, he built him a 7-mile prairie dog chain. The people applauded, they shouted and cheered, as into the sunset that herd disappeared. But that was the last time the town ever saw Mulligan Martinson Marley McGraw. The folks like to say that he's still on the plains. He's guiding that herd with his hands on the reins. He left us a lesson, no doubt about that. A cowboy is more than the size of his hat. Here it is on his rat. Again, thank you for the complimentary chuckle.